Fantastic.
So we are online, we can see you.
Good.
Hello. So we start? Okay, welcome. Dobrý den, dámy a pánové, já vás srdečně vítám za Operu Národního divadla a Státní operu. Jak vás zde přítomné, tak připojené online, jak hosty, tak zástupce médií. Tato tisková konference je věnovaná uvedení velkolepé kantáty Písně z Gurre, rakouského skladatele českého původu Arnolda Schönberga. A jsou to právě tyto prostory, kde tato kantáta byla uvedena před 102 lety.
Even 102 years ago. Now it's getting back to the same venue to be presented, namely in the framework of celebrations of the centenary of the Czech radio and also under the musicanongrata project. So I can't wait to hear it and see it on the 20th of June. Now I'll hand over the floor to my colleague Iva Nevoralová, who is the PR of Musicanongrata. Well, I wish to most cordially welcome everyone here, and I'll start with our dear guests. Introductions. Madam Nuria Schönberg Nono, the daughter of Arnold Schoenberg, is here, and we are happy and privileged to have her with us online. Now present, and I shall start with ladies first, Susanne.
Valdemara.
Jakub Čížek, who is the director of the Prague Radio Symphony Orchestra, I'll call it as of now Socha, and then Mr. Rolf Lennart Stensø, who is the executive director of Norwegian Radio Orchestra Gork as of now, and also the artistic, of course, our big boss, artistic director of NTO and State-O, Mr. Boye Hansen. I am happy they all devote this time to us. I namely wish also to most cordially greet His Excellency Viktor Konrad Rønneberg, Ambassador of the Norwegian Kingdom, Madam Bukovska, who is the representative of Österreichische Kulturforum. I don't know whether Madam Vasavika is also with us. She is the lady director of Slovak Institute in Prague. These are institutions that have been helping us with this project. Now, I shall hand over the floor to the host, namely the National Theatre. Therefore, the floor goes to the artistic director of the opera, Mr. Boye Hansen. The floor is yours, sir.
State Opera, and to this small press conference where we are going to present one of the, in my opinion, greatest piece of music that has ever been written. I have had the opportunity to co-produce or be involved in a production with Gurre-Lieder twice before. We did it once in the anniversary of the Oslo Philharmonic Orchestra in, I think it was in '96, and then again at the Bergen Festival we had a Gurre-Lieder. It's a big undertaking, as we all know. We have to have huge choruses, forces, and also big orchestras cannot be done only with the normal size. And I think to have this opportunity for me as Norwegian, to have the orchestra of the Norwegian Broadcasting coming to Prague and join forces together with the wonderful orchestra of the Czech radio. It's a great privilege. I like this kind of brothership. We have prepared it for quite a long time. It was actually Jakub Čížek who came to me with this idea quite a few quite a long time ago, and it fitted very well into our plans. I immediately said this is something we absolutely would like to participate on, because we have this 4-year program called Musicanongrata, supported by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Berlin, where we are presenting works, operas by composers who were in different ways persecuted by the Nazis. It is also a period which has been so important for the development of Czech music and opera, and especially this house, which was then called the New German Opera, where Alexander Zemlinsky was a dominant figure from 1911 until 1927, where he was the artistic director, opera director here. He was, of course, very well connected with his colleagues around Europe, and the relationship with Arnold Schoenberg was not only professional, it was had also a private character. They were brother-in-laws, and he came here and directed himself, Zemlinsky, Gurre-Lieder in 1921. We have a picture of that. I think it was 350 people on stage. It's amazing to see the picture from that time. And I also have in my office a poster from this performance. And it's quite amazing that it hasn't been done here anyway, as far as I know, since maybe I'm also not knowledgeable about everything that has been done. But anyway, it is a great honor for us to present this wonderful piece again. So thank you very much for coming from Norway, all the wonderful soloists, and of course, what really combines the whole thing is Petr Popelka, who has been a dear guest with the Orchestra of the National Theatre here in Prague, and he has been in the last year the chef of both orchestra, the Norwegian Radio Orchestra and the Czech Radio Orchestra. So of course then to combine them in your hands was also a very natural thing. So heartily welcome everybody, and I will leave the floor to my colleagues. I'm very much looking forward to this exciting concert on Tuesday. You will go to Lito Michel first, and then you will come to us on Tuesday. Thank you.
Já jenom k tomuto dodám, že pražský koncert je koprodukce mezi operou Národního
divadla. It's a co-production between the musicanongrata, Sochers in Prague Radio Symphony Orchestra and Norwegian Radio Orchestra National Theatre. So let's now see the video recording.
I'm very happy to hear that Gurre-Lieder will be performed in Prague, especially in Prague, because in 1921 it was performed there under the baton of Alexander von Zemlinsky. And my father kept a photograph of Zemlinsky in front of the whole orchestra and choirs and everything, where you can see that they're all the way around. There are signatures of people who took part in this probably wonderful performance directed by Alexander von Zemlinsky in 1921 in Prague. So here we are again in Prague, many, many years later. It's a work which, it means a lot to me because my father wanted me to perform the part of the speaker at the end of the work for a performance that was to take place in the United States. And therefore I studied this part that I was really happy to do that. I thought this is really amazing and everything, and Herr Gänsehaus, Frau Gänsehaus, and it was. I had so much fun learning it, and then I got cold feet, and then I said, "No, Daddy, I can't do this because I'm not a professional and I'm your daughter, and it's silly, and I don't want to do this." So I didn't. And he wrote this very cute letter for me, and I think it's in my name, and it says, "Dear Professor something or other, I'm afraid, I won't be able to do this, and I think it's better for you to take someone who is a really professional." And then my father added a note to this and saying, yes, my daughter feels that it's better. You know, although she's only 18, and although she does it very well, I respect her decision. But I studied it, and he listened to me while I was studying it, and sort of suggested things too. So this was one of the very important experiences of mine, because I learned how the Sprechgesang should be done, this special way of neither singing nor speaking, but something in between. So I can only say that it is one of my father's works, which I'm sure I'm not the only one to consider one of his really very important works, and one that uses probably the most performers of any of his works, and probably one of the least performed, unfortunately. I hope there will be a wonderful performance. I'm wishing of you to have a terrific performance, because I know it always makes a great impression on the audience, and even after so many years. This first performance in Prague was in 1921, so a few years have gone by since then. I understand it was a great success. Alexander Zemlinsky wrote my father that it was. I'm sure it was a great performance then, and I'm sure that you will always have great performances in Prague of works like this, which are part of your story too, your history. So all the best, and toi toi toi.
So thank you very much to Madame Schönberg. Watching the video, I was wondering what your father told you when studying this part of narrator. What is Sprechgesang?
Yeah, I didn't really learn what it is. It's neither singing nor reciting, speaking. It's something in between. And this was a very good experience for me. I had already heard my father at home conducting Piero Lerner with a very, very wonderful performer from Germany, who had done the work already in Europe, and now she was doing it in America. And so I could hear his explanation, you know, not hysterical, not, you know, overdone emotionally and everything, but very clear and to the point. So I had this lesson listening to the rehearsals at our house with this very, very good, she was a singer. And
Can you explain us what was your father's relationship to Gurre-Lieder, to this work?
I don't know, I think he liked the poem, he liked the what it expressed, and I guess it worked out with what his way of composing, and so he did it. And I can't really say, I was quite young at that time when he did it.
Thank you very much. Pane dirigente, obrátím se na vás. Jak vy vnímáte písně z
Mr.
Gurre v
Popelka,
kontextu Schönberga?
how do you take or perceive Gurre-Lieder in the context of other Schönberg's works? I'll speak subject. Well, Schönberg, to me, is one of the most fascinating composers or artists in the history, because he developed as a composer in an unparalleled, so to say, way. It's difficult to compare him to anybody. He was also a thinker, not only composer. At least that's the way I perceive it. It's difficult to take, to separate him as a philosopher, thinker, and a writer and composer. It's really difficult to separate him. He was incredible and amazing. And Gurre-Lieder, he has spent almost 11 years, of course, with interruptions, with pauses to this work, especially in the part where the Sprecher, the narrator, performs. It is more than obvious that by then he has been very experienced after Rolf Lennart and other compositions that he composed. So he, as I've said, obviously shows, or you can hear the impact of his maturity and development on Gurre-Lieder. And it was inspired by the text. We know that the grata is very much full of symbols, and I'm sure he was simply fascinated by the symbols. And it has been close to his heart. And it's also the child of that era, because the music was, so to say, at the very limits, and such men of genius like Schönberg or Mahler wanted to find out how far they can go. Mahler's Eighth Symphony and Schönberg or a Lieder. And so it's a fantastic or amazing work or masterpiece in the history of music, and a step that makes sense or is logical and necessary. It was a must, and it was a true milestone in his work. You can hear the Wagnerian or impacts of Wagner in his music, or somebody else, yeah, sure, Wagner. At first sight, one would think, yes, it's Wagner. The beginning, the longer E-flat major chord, which is sort of vibrating, reminds you of Ring der Nibelungen, namely Rheingold. The first part, it's in E-flat major, so there are paraphrases, and then Tove about the that is in E flat minor. It's again as Götterdämmerung, because it also starts in E flat minor. Then Tristan interval 6, etc. These were symbols that the Schönberg was certainly well aware of and was influenced by. It is. Well, Wagner obviously is strongly present, but also you can hear Johannes Brahms' music in it, because he took Brahms, Bach, and Beethoven, the best, so to say, of German composers and compositions, and Schönberg wanted to follow this line of the three top leading composers. It's also proceeding from Beethoven's constant variations and the smallest motifs being developed, which is strongly felt in Gurre-Lieder. So yes, Wagnerian influence is obvious at first sight, but if you dig deeper or look more deeply, then there is more of a Brahms than Wagner. There is a monumental cast or a huge number of artists. It must be difficult to cope with that. Well, it is of course extremely difficult. You have to make many changes in the score as to dynamics, because Schönberg usually has expressionist markings, like fortissimo means truly fortissimo. And if you're not merely decibels. But the first part are intimate, close dialogues between Waldemar and Tove, and though there is this huge number of artists, it has to be intimate. So the orchestra must simply sort of yield to the intimate Tove and Waldemar. If you have 130 persons, choruses, choirs, then you must not overwhelm the soloists, and that is perhaps the number one challenge for the singers, to be able to also sing in piano and didn't have to shout literally. We have got two orchestras here. How does that work? How was it integrated? I do hope it'll work well. Since this has been my third season as a chief conductor of KOG and first of Socha, Prague Radio Symphonic Orchestra, it was only thanks to my thorough knowledge of these two orchestras that I could bring them together in harmony. There is not one orchestra who would be the leader or the star and the other just supplementing it. No, this is playing side by side. You have at the same music stand persons, strings from KOG, from Socha. If you take 10 clarinets, it's not like 3 clarinets from here, 3 from there, etc. No, it is simply two orchestras who assimilated into one huge orchestra. Now, Madam Bernhard, a question.
To sing the character of Tove must be a dream for every soprano. What does Tove embody for you? What does it mean for you, this role?
Yeah, first of all...
Please, can you use the microphone?
The microphone, so you can hear me. I don't know if it's a dream for every soprano, as we are living on the same world, but we see in a bigger sense that not all of us have the same dreams and wishes. Especially now in these times, we can feel that very much. But in respect of Tove, I have to say, yes, it's a dream for me to listen to this music. And when I heard it for the first time, I had really an increasing heartbeat, like falling in love. And I feel so privileged to have the chance to sing this wonderful music, which is so full and so bright, and the orchestration is gorgeous and just full of emotionally appealing pictures and overwhelming. And yes, it's true. It's a dream for me. And I remember a lot of those feelings from my youth. I mean, nobody says you are still young, but that's okay. It's
you are.
Many pictures are coming up in my inner feelings, like the women in Klimt's paintings, or Venus rising from the waves, or so many things of our dreams when we are young and we want to live life to the fullest and to the brightest, and everything is in bloom and so interesting. And yeah, I try to remember this and to be free of all the sorrows we have in our times, and to remember about beauty and about having dreams. And I mean, it's clear that we are marching towards our own death from minute to minute, and it's so beautiful to forget about this for some minutes, singing such a overwhelming music. And when you see the score, you see such expressions as steigernd, sehr laut, sehr breit. Everything is so full, and exaggerated a bit and nothing mediocre. So I really love the piece very much, and I feel privileged, and I feel also the responsibility, of course. And I'm happy to be here and very thankful.
I'm not sure, is it your debut?
Yes, it is in fact my debut, and I have next week Mahler 8, as you mentioned that before, so this is very well fitting at the moment, and and it reminds me also about the pieces of Schreker. I have done some pieces of Schreker, some works by Schreker, and I like the music very much, and there's so much in it what is also my personal interest, the time of psychoanalysis and the longing for death in late romanticism and all those topics. I am very interested in that, and so, and also the story to be a loved one and not the real wife. I mean, this is so interesting, all about it, what you can think around.
Mr. Venius, when I interviewed Mr. Popelka, he compared tenors who can sing the part of Valdemar to the best footballers. Like, so my question is, if you feel like Lionel Messi, just sing the Valdemar?
Look at me, I'm no Lionel Messi. But yes, the comparison is, of course, valid, because this part, you were asking if it's a dream part. It is a dream part, of course, up until about 2 minutes before you have to actually sing it, when you're really nervous, and then you sort of hope that it could be all over. At the same time, I have done this before, and I'm so happy to do it again, because it's a monumental piece. It is very hard to sing for everyone in the room, actually. It's not only our soloist parts, it's the chorus parts are also very demanding for the singers. But when approaching Valdemar, it's he is the one of the soloists that takes the longest psychological trip in this piece, of course, being very romantic and happy and longing for Tove in the first part, and then, as any human being that is opposed to is faced with sorrow and death, of course everything changes, and he goes through stages in the second and the third part where he blames basically everything else, and of course his challenge with God is central in this piece. Why have you done this to me? Do you understand what you've done? And then when he cannot really get a proper answer, he goes out on these nightly rides, the yacht scenes. So yeah, it's interesting to see how he psychologically battles his own sorrows. I think he's a very human person, although he speaks of himself in third person, which of course you did that, I'm the king and so on, but in terms of emotions, he's a very, very human person.
You have already sang Valdemar before.
Yeah.
Is it something new what you have discovered with Master Popelka?
We just starting. We just met yesterday, and of course, every project you do, if you've done something before or if you do it for the first time, you develop something new. And I'm sure that we will, over this coming few days, deepen this thing for me and for everyone. I hope, and it's a great joy to work with the maestro here again. We collaborated this spring in Tristan, and this is a very, very fond memory for me to come here and think about the Tristan that we did, and then now we do this. It's very nice.
The question for both soloists. Tove and Valdemar are lovers in this piece. Do you think you will find a liking for each other? And how do you look forward to working together, like a couple?
Yeah, we met for about 4 minutes yesterday, so, but we'll spend some time today, and I'm sure that we can have some nice time together. Yeah, we'll have dinner tonight, and I will post you tomorrow.
Yes,
Okay.
he answered the question very well.
Doplníme tiskovou zprávu zítra. Mr. Čížek, director of Prague Radio Symphony Orchestra, česky asi, česky. Projekt vzniká ve velmi těsné spolupráci.
The project is being actually developed or produced in close cooperation with the Czech Radio Orchestra as a part of the celebration of the centenary. What symbolism does it have for you? Well, I don't know whether it's because of my middle age or what, but such at the time of celebrations of the centenary of the Czech Radio 100th simply anniversary, I keep going back to the past or history, and I thought of my admission interview to the music university or Janáček's University in Brno, when they asked me why, what makes you opt for this study? Well, because I love music, and then I wondered what to add, and I said something which is still true, which holds true still now, because I want all people around me to discover music, and also all those who as yet have not discovered music. And this is a very demanding, very challenging project, which is rarely performed. The last, perhaps, performance in Czechoslovakia, no, it was in Czech Republic, was in 2006, on the occasion of Prague Spring Festival by Prague Philharmonics. And before that, for decades, it hasn't been performed. I have never actually heard live Gurre-Lieder. I only heard some recordings, so I can't wait to do it, you know. I'm looking forward very much. We also did Berlioz' Requiem here in Prague, and we needed one choir on the left-hand side, the other on the right-hand side, and one in the middle. This was in Rudolfinum, House of Artists, and then Leto Michel's Festival Mahler's 8th Symphony was performed. Always you discover something new, a brand new dimension. And thanks to Gurre-Lieder and Schönberg, I keep discovering new things again. And all my efforts performed as director of Socha right now aims at simply getting these great works, masterpieces, to people, to reach the general public or broad the audiences simply. And this 100th anniversary of Czech Radio makes it even stronger.
Radio Orchestra in Czech Republic.
Yes,
that's right.
It is,
yes.
yeah, absolutely.
It's a long story. Your orchestra was founded in 1946.
Yeah, that's right.
At the same time, you will complete a successful cooperation with Maestro Popelka as a chief conductor of the Cork. With what feelings do you come to us?
Well, it's fantastic to be here. I think it's a fantastic project to do. It's not a piece of music that we normally do, so to say. I mean, it's the first time for this orchestra. Of course, we are a much smaller orchestra than Socha are, and so we just look forward to do the piece and to be here. Actually, it's very nice, and to end this period together with Peter is amazing. To do it with such a fantastic project, and to visit him in his hometown is also important and very nice way of ending this period.
I have one question. Do you remember what was the first reaction of Cork players where somebody said, we will perform Gurre-Lieder?
Well, there was laugh and smiling, and maybe first of all laughing, because it's so huge, and a number of musicians indicate that we had to cooperate with a much bigger orchestra. And of course, something that is very important with this, it would not have worked with only one maestro for both orchestras. This is a kind of cooperation that is really difficult if you have two different chief conductors. So the magic word in this project is really Popelka, because it's a lot of discussions in advance before we are coming here. It's all about who is playing what and what placement the different musicians have in the orchestra, as Petr was mentioning before. So this is a really big part of it, to work like one orchestra when you actually are two. It's psychological experiment as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, tricky question to both of you. Do you know how many members of your orchestra is playing?
Yes, I know the number of I think we are 54, 53 maybe, yeah.
Myslím, že nějak 87.
I think 87 or 84, I don't know. Tak 53 and 84. 84 and 53.
So, just last question for both of you. You have already said a bit. What do you think your orchestras can bring artistically, but also humanly, to this project? Because you really connect two absolutely different mentalities of people.
I think it's in every cooperation like this in Europe, or to bring musicians together, even if it's all over the world, but in this perspective in Europe, I think it's really interesting and really good for the orchestra and the musicians. So it's really both ways here, to learn other musicians to know, and the traditions and how they are working and how they are playing. So it's inspiring and good for the orchestra, and I think that works both ways. And that we could bring some energy into the orchestra, because we are a smaller orchestra. We are playing different kind of repertoire, so we are playing both jazz and pop music as well, together with the classical repertoire. And maybe that's brings some different elements into the music, even if it's Schönberg. So
We are looking forward.
Yeah.
A bit of jazz in
Yes.
the last part.
Absolutely.
Pane řediteli.
Já doufám a věřím, že
I do hope and I'm convinced that we shall inspire one another or each other, and yet another experience whenever there is a brand new member in the ensemble, whether a soloist or musician. It's always a source of enrichment and new impulse, new impetus, and as Rolf has said, also inspiration, again, food for thought. So that will be of major benefit, because each and everyone will try to do her best. And also Schönberg seems to be something extremely strange and remote. We did together, Pelas and Melisande, as well as an opening concert. Zemlinsky music is simply, this is close to our heart in a way. So I believe that this this effect will make us play it or deliver it greatly.
Goes to Venezia, to Madame Schönberg. With what feelings do you accept the fact that Gurre-Lieder are returning after more than 100 years to the place where they had their Czech premiere, and that they are still being taken up by a new generations of artists?
I don't know what to say. It's, I think it's good and natural that if something is worth repeating even after many decades or 100 years and so on, then it means that it expresses ideas, because music doesn't express ideas and feelings which are natural to just to the human beings. So I think that the fact that this also has this a very strong effect on people nowadays, as it did when it was first performed, I think that that's a very good thing. And I also think that today it is so much easier also to listen to this music, and there's not so much newness about it today, because there's a lot of other music that was written also by my father and by other composers after this piece. So I think it's very understandable now.
Dávám mikrofon do pléna, pokud se chcete někdo na něco zeptat.
Dobrý den, Helena Havlíková.
Helena Havlíková. I must admit some ignorance. I don't really know Gurre-Lieder. I haven't heard even a audio recording, so I'd like to ask the conductor. This joining, what was the original instrumentation? Or, I mean, was it actually composed for such a huge, giant orchestra, or was it for a standard symphonic orchestra? And you just wanted to enjoy this sort of a luxury and beautiful sound of two ensembles being brought together. No, it certainly was composed like that by Schönberg for a huge or extreme number, extremely like 10 French horns. 4 have to then switch to Wagnerian tuba, which is a special. Then 7 trombones, bass trumpets, 6 trumpets, 8 flutes, and 20 first violins. We took the carriage and reduced that number by 1 music stand, so to say. So we did some cosmetic modifications in strings. We did not stick to the originally designed by Schönberg, a number of strings. So this joining of 2 orchestras was certainly more than necessary, more than a must.
Dobrý den.
Good morning, Harmony. I've got 2 questions. One addressed to Mr. Popelka. Did you draw some inspiration from autograph of Schönberg? And the second one is perhaps naive. The production of this composition is actually the highlight of this season in Prague. Therefore, I am really surprised that it is that the National Theatre only, so to say, participates through the building of this. So what's the reason of that?
Možná, že to je otázka to explain the co-production basis of this project. Protože to není jenom budova, because it's not just a building, but it's also. So maybe we explain co-production first, or no?
Should I start?
Yeah.
Okay. Pardon,
Well, how did we prepare? Well, in Vienna, there is a great institute of Arnold Schoenberg, where I had the opportunity to spend some time. Our dear distinguished guest in Venice is the leading person of this institute, and I had the pleasure to see the autobiography. Simply, I have only seen a couple of pages of that autograph, not the whole lot of it, but and I've also seen a couple of sketches by Schönberg, which is extremely interesting, because then you can see the mindset and way of thinking or train of thoughts of that person. But to look into the manuscript is great. And if I may try to touch upon or answer part of the second question, or partly answer, well, the generosity with which all the institutions got involved, which means the National Theatre, Musica non grata, Socher, Cork, and also Smetana's Litomyshl, the music festival, is just tremendous, because each and every one stakeholder invested a lot of energy, time, resources, and funds, money as well, which is of course also not negligible. So it is an extremely demanding or challenging cooperation of all these stakeholders involved. I don't know if Mr. Hansen wants to add something. Go ahead.
For us it was just a gift. As I mentioned, Mr. Čížek came to me 2 years ago, maybe even more, with this idea. It was already an idea to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the Radio Orchestra of Prague, and then he said that he wanted to invite also the orchestra from Norway, which of course I have a kind of private interest in, coming from Norway. Not only that, actually my father was 13-year-long concertmaster of the Radio Orchestra in Oslo, back in the 50s and 60s. He passed away 4 years ago, but I'm sure he would have been very, very proud if he would have seen that you were coming here to Prague. So no, it was just a gift from us to have it, and when we had the opportunity also to contribute financially, we could make room. We are planning in both National Theatre and in the State Opera, of course, very long time in advance. Yesterday we had the premiere of Cavalleria Rusticana Pagliacci, so you know the plans were already made from our side, and I think it will be almost logistically impossible for us to incorporate in a project like this. Cavalleria Rusticana is quite a chorus piece, and they have been preparing that for quite a few months. And then so we had 2 choruses, 2 orchestras from outside coming into this building, and to take up the wonderful tradition of presenting this this great piece in this building was just a wonderful gift, and we couldn't refuse it.
Ale jenom možná pro doplnění té otázky, tak produkce...
Yeah, it is also financial donations or participation in the cost sharing, so to say. It's not just the building, as you have said, that the National Theatre offers. Would they speak on the mic, please?
Schönbergem, ale mě by zajímalo, pane
Popelka, associated with Schönberg, but Mr. Popelka, I would love to know what you think of your new engagement in Vienna, and why did you accept that? The chief conductor of the Vienna Symphony Orchestra with 24-25 season. Well, thanks for the question. It is well, to become the chief conductor is a very strange, very specific. You know, it's not a result of an audition. It's usually long-term cooperations, which is then culminated by that I have performed or I have conducted with Wiener Symphonica, and the cooperation or the work was so pleasant, so enjoyable, that I truly felt honored and privileged when they approached me and told me I was selected or voted in as the future chief conductor. It was a real honor, which is why I did decide to accept that offer, because there is a huge potential for me and the orchestra to achieve something together. The same applied to Cork, Norwegian Radio Orchestra. After one tour, I was also offered this post of chief conductor, and I'm extremely grateful for those 3 years in Norway. Now I'm halfway through, in the middle of the trip with Socha, and starting with 25 season, I'll be in Vienna, and I am looking forward to that work, because what I want to bring to Vienna is this music to revive, you know, and bring back to life the relationship, the old ties between Vienna, Prague, Zemlinsky, Schönberg, all that, Schrecker, all that generation were one huge or constituted extremely grandiose tradition. So I'm happy to be able to work in the future in Vienna, which is so close and loved by us. Now I'll recap by way of conclusion. We have 244 artists participating, 138 orchestra players, 99 members of Czech Philharmonic Choir Brno and Slovak Philharmonic Choir Bratislava. That is gonna be truly a treat, even though the ladies only sing 8 minutes at the very end. We have 2 great or tremendous choirs, and 6 soloists and the conductor. We will also occupy the full, so to say, dimension of the stage. But what is important, you can watch it live stream on, or check Radio Vltava will broadcast it live, as well as Norwegian radio channel and RKP2, and then it will also be broadcasting the audio recording, German MDR radio and Czech TV Plus. Mr. Shimada is the dramaturg, and Norwegian Broadcasting Corporation NRK will broadcast audiovisual recording of the concert as well. On the 18th of June, that is 2 days before the performance in Prague, it will be performed within the International Music Festival, Smetana's Litomyšl, so 18th June. And the information sources are website of National Theatre, Musica Non Grata, Facebook group Musica Non Grata, and Czech Radio Vltava also has a website devoted to this topic. There was 1 hour beautiful documentary, radio documentary, that is audio, and a documentary recording devoted fully to Gurre-Lieder. And we also wish to thank from the bottom of our heart to German Embassy for the full support. We wish to thank the Norwegian Embassy to the Czech Republic for generous support, Slovak Institute, Österreichische Kulturforum, Scandinavian entities, and Swedish Embassy. And we also wish to thank Arnold Schoenberg Center in Vienna for understanding. They had equipped us with a huge plethora of historic documents and visuals, pictures. Therefore, once again, thanks. Major thanks also go to Vienna, addressed to Vienna. This is it for the time being, and if you wish to have an interview, go ahead. You have a chance now to have interviews with our members or artists here today.
I'm very happy to hear